starting a little bit late. Trying to finish them school. It's constant.
Yeah.
Mike Elkins.
Thank you. Mayor and Council, I thank you for your commitment and willingness to serve. I just want to talk a few minutes about the traffic and kind of give you a perspective of kind of unplanned baggage side of the view. I've spoken to a few of you individually and as a group about Will Street and our first impression, and we have made a little progress, but we have ways to go. But we have about 800,000 to 1 million guests a year that will travel into our area to visit our business. Typically, they'll use their GPS to come to our location. Many of them will be traveling from their region outside of our area. Most of the time, GPS brings you through Woodville or at Hollywood. It directs you down through on the Little Street and kind of bypasses 72. You may notice if you look at my billboards, I direct them to go to Highway 35 and come up. It's not the closest route, but it's the most progressive impression route. I say that to say that some of our guests that we have are staying overnight. One new feature that we will be adding in tiers in our business is excursions. So we're looking to have our site to have our city parks, Goose Pond, golf outings, fishing, caving, and you can be able to go to our site and plan a trip to Scottsboro, Alabama, and have the wife shop and the husband play golf and spend the night, and which will help us in our lodging, also help us in our restaurants and our gas. So we're working to roll part of that out by Memorial Day, part of it out by the 4th of July, and hopefully the last part out by Labor Day, as we'll build that up. Many of our guests today that we already have are asking for restaurants to eat at, and most of them we've seen anywhere from downtown to Broad Street to 72. I believe that if we take a look at that intersection and we upgraded it, I think it will echo some of the safety that we've heard tonight, but I also think it'll show progressiveness, which I think the city needs, is some signs of progressiveness. We've heard about our population, and we've seen other avenues and things that happen around here. But I know that the powers to be and the meetings I've been on, is, including all of you that I've had time to meet with, are all progressive. And I admire you and I appreciate that. We need that. We're not real progressive on Will Street right now. But luckily, we've got a unique brand that brings with our anyways. We'd love to be on 72, but that's kind of the way it rolls. I want to thank you for listening to my comments tonight, and I hope you consider them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
J.P. Parsons.
I was really happy to hear Mike talk about the opportunities that are available through the tourism areas that not only the shopping in Plain Basin is the number one activity, but it's also the other activities that are available to all of us in this county. For the first time, I did an economic impact on the Google data center that's being built, and that hasn't really been done. But the bottom line, and this is going to be very short on this, but bottom line, of all the 6 data centers that preceded us, 3 years after the data centers opened, those communities that are all the same size as we are in Scottsboro began to blossom. To bring more people in, more population in, as well as more educated people will be coming in, and it's just a natural phenomenon that happens with other Google data centers as part of this economic impact study that I performed. But anyway, the reason I came tonight, this week is the national championship of the Angler's Choice Tournament. and it's being held out at Goose Pond. And they have around 600 anglers that will be at a banquet Wednesday night to celebrate their national championship and make some other awards while they're there. And I put an invitation on my listing because I want to invite Mr. President, the mayor, and all of the city council to attend the banquet and help welcome them into their area. This is around their 10th or 11th year to come. And these guys use their vacation time. These guys stay from 10 to 14 days here and in enjoying our southern hospitality that we provide them. And they talk about it all the time. And that's why they keep coming back. They didn't have to come back here, but they choose to. And we're really happy to have them. And so I estimate that, and a conservative estimate of this tournament for this week will be in our spending in our small businesses in Scottsboro and Jackson County about a little over $1.5 million. And I feel that this is a conservative estimate, and will bring a lot of help to our businesses in Scottsboro and Jackson County. But basically, I really wanted to come and invite you out and let you actually say what I think Tony Wallingsford came last year, and they were pretty impressive what they told me.
Very impressive, very impressive.
But please come out if you can.
Give me that day again, you were talking
Oh,
about it, but I
excuse
can
me.
write, so.
March 28th, Wednesday night, March 28th. No, I'm sorry, that's different. It's this Wednesday.
It's this way.
Six.
The 6th, March 6th, sorry,
What time?
6 o'clock
It goes home.
at Goose Pond Civic Center. It'll be packed.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you, JP. Appreciate y'all.
Jason Venable.
I appreciate the opportunity to come speak to you. I hope you don't feel like I'm sticking the nose in the city's business, because I know I catch enough grief from the stuff on the county commission. But as luck would have it, we had a softball tournament this past weekend at New Hope. A lot of Jackson County schools there. And, I got approached a good bit about this Highway 79 and County Park safety project. And I don't have all the facts, and I told folks I don't have all the facts. I appreciate what all you guys do, and I know what a burden it is. And my wife realized right quick after I got elected that there's no such thing as a short trip to town anymore. You run into folks that want to be in your ear constantly, which is what we're here for. But several things that kept coming up was the safety. The county's done a lot to try to grow the county park, restaurant, the cabin rentals, the rental place, all that generates revenue through lodging and sales tax, but it adds traffic, and more traffic means potential for more accidents. Another issue that kept coming up was economic development. This could spur some potential growth, which, ad valorem property tax is the county's #1 revenue producer. So, I would like you to reconsider and revisit the potential of doing this safety grant. The third thing is the relationship with Aldott. Go so far toward getting a grant and getting a grant approved, and then deciding not to do the grant. I'm afraid it may hurt the whole community in future grants and trying to get approval through Aldott. Again, I appreciate the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Go to reports, Mayor.
I've got just 2 or 3 things I want to add, and it's just sort of tagging on different individuals that have commented, talking about the growth in the area of County Park and 72. And everybody knows me, knows how passionate I am about this project, so we'll put that aside. But I had Shane, who does our business license, run some numbers today for me because I was curious. And out of 13 establishments in the 2 shopping centers and Taco Bell area, those 13 businesses collectively, the last 3 years, have increased their gross sales by $3 million. And I commend them in their efforts, but with increased sales comes increased traffic. And I think this is it's a lot more than I anticipated, but $3 million spread out between 13 establishments. Not everybody was a positive growth, and I get that, and I'm certainly not going to discuss who did what or where, but collectively, $3 million more in sales over the last 3 years, which is about $1 million a year. And, you know, we've had, and this has come about, part of it since the traffic study was done, just to mention 50 Taters relocation and another DuPont opening as well. And then Casey's Barbecue had moved. So I just wanted to mention that. As far as sales tax, and you know, we like a lot of municipalities thrive off of sales tax. So I had Rick reach out to 5 other municipalities besides Scottsboro, and I think this is you know, it talks about how we've been stagnant, and then when we possibly do have an opportunity for growth. But if you take Scottsboro, Boaz, Gunnersville, Fort Payne, Athens, and Hartselle, out of all those municipalities, and if you look at the number of square miles that make up each municipality and their budgeted sales tax, and I'm not talking about what the city uses or what goes to the schools or how each municipality chooses to divvy that up, but if you look at the budgeted sales tax that comes in, Scottsboro has the lowest sales tax generated per square mile out of those 6 cities. Scottsboro has the lowest. $176,748 per square mile generated in a year's time. The next lowest was Fort Payne, and I won't get into the specifics, but you know, we're just behind on growth, and I think we all know that. I think that's just an interesting statistic. It is to me. It may not be to some of y'all. You know, we talk about growth and potential, and I was fortunate to go to Washington last week, and we met with, you know, as a chamber group, and we met with Senator Shelby. You know, it's no secret we're pursuing growth and expansion at the airport. Senator Shelby's been a great help, and he's offered to facilitate a meeting with the FAA. We got some issues on sewer up there, wanting to relocate, and so he has graciously agreed to try to get them to the table in his office, and usually when he speaks, he gets results. There's a couple of industry that, and I'm not going to get into much detail, is looking to, they've been on the ground and look at the industrial park in Hollywood. And both of those, whether we get one or none or both, have the potential to add a lot of jobs to the area. One of them is between, I'll say, our city, our county, and another location. It comes down to one of the issues that they raised was, could they recruit enough engineers to the area? It's a good question. That was another part of that trip that Congressman Adderholt and Congressman Brooks are going to weigh in and try to help tip the scale in our favor. Senator Shelby touched on the FBI relocating to Redstone Arsenal. May not mean much to y'all. It's a $385 million allocation that came from him as the FBI increases their presence at Redstone Arsenal. Their footprint's going to be 2,500 acres at Redstone Arsenal, and you're looking at, over the next 3 to 5 years, 5,500 families moving to the area. I had a meeting with a realtor last week. Her agency is having to go through some security issues so that they can deal with these families. And she's a local person, and she'd love to be able to show people our area. Goose Pond Colony, we're working on 3 projects there. The boat ramp expansion, there's a land development project that's in the works, and a sewer project. There again, trying to partner and put some things in place that will allow that an opportunity for growth. Goose Pond Island has some interest, and I can't get into any details, but there's some interest in development there. And then we go on with Sano and other industries. So there's opportunities for growth, but as we try to present our city as a positive city and a city of growth and attract new families, you know, we can slice the cheese as much as we want them on ourselves, but it doesn't get any bigger. And so, you know, when we have an opportunity to attract other people, I personally think we need to seize the moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bailey?
I just want to thank everybody for coming out. Like Mike said, you know, this big crowd, it shows that the people are progressive. They're wanting to see growth, and I appreciate that. And Jason and Tim, really appreciate y'all coming, showing you want to work with us and bring in growth. I just want to say thank you.
Mr. Ashburn?
I'd like to take just a minute to talk about the gas tax. It's been, I've had people ask me lately about 10-cent sales tax and what's the city's take on it. I can't really speak for everybody, but I can speak for myself on it. I'll take just a minute. The way this 10 cents is going to be allocated, the state gets 67%, county 25%, and the city 8%. State, counties, and cities can use the revenue only for maintenance and construction of roads and bridges, matching funds for federal projects, and payment for debt on certain things. The money cannot be used for salaries or other compensation that are not directly tied to project costs. Purchase of equipment or buildings that's not included in the project. If I'm reading that right, you couldn't use salaries to build a road. You would have to contract that out, which would cost you about double what it normally would. I cannot and will not endorse this project until we get more information on it to see whether 10 cents is added on to every gallon of gas that we buy, and we're not getting much out of it. Other than that, I appreciate y'all coming out.
Thanks, Mike. Mr. Mashburn?
I just have a question about the recycling. Mike, where are we? Has there been any change with that? I know
No, and you were gonna reach out to Rock 10 or whatever they go by now and set that meeting up.
Yeah, I can do that. I was waiting to see as far as for the recycling, what we've got at the Baylor.
Decatur is supposed to start taking that material this week.
Okay, so we're ready for a meeting with
Yeah.
Rock Town
Yes.
in the week, okay, proceed with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Other thing I've got is we need to remember the families in Lee County from that loss of life and the tornadoes. We all know how devastating that is. We certainly want to remember those, and even the child that was found this weekend. We need to remember those families because that's a tough situation. So we all need to all be in prayer for that. I do want to thank everyone for coming out. This is, it's a touchy situation, and we are all, we all want to be united, and see growth. But I appreciate everybody's comments and input on the situation with County Park. So that's all I want.
Thank you. Mr. Gary Stewart?
Well, I too, I want to thank y'all for being here tonight. It really shows that there is a lot of interest and concern. But I guess I want to approach the 800-pound gorilla in the room. And I'm going to explain the reason that I voted the way I voted last week. And I know a lot of people would like to hear that, and I'm going to tell you why. Last fall, when this was first brought up to us, my first concern was safety, and this is supposed to be a safety project. And I want it to be a safety project. I want our streets to be safer. I want our community to be safer. And heavens knows I want us to grow. That's what we all want. We would like to see a better place for our children to come back and actually be able to work here and raise their kids. But we have to have opportunities, and with that, we have to have progressive growth. We know that. But the only problem I had with the whole situation of 72 and County Park Road is that I didn't think it included enough for safety's purpose. I have talked to Chief Dahl, and I've talked to other officers
Yes, we have several accidents at County Park Road 72, there's no question about it. There's been more people killed, fatalities, at Western Sizzling in that area than there has been in County Park Road. I would like to see a more inclusive plan that covers the whole corridor from 72 County Park Road to the overpass. I'd like to see progress on both sides of the road. I'd like to see businesses on both sides of the road. And yes, it may cost the city more money for matching funds for the grant for ALDOT, but I guarantee you ALDOT will be more than happy to help us work it out and figure it out. So I hope I explained it well enough, and I hope you understand why I voted no. I'm not against progress, but I want to see a little bit more safety-oriented progress included in that plan. And like I said, thank you all for coming tonight, and I appreciate your concern.
Yeah, thank you. Couple of things. Next week is March the 11th. We will not have a meeting. Some of us are going to Washington, D.C. So we'll have a council meeting on March the 18th. And then on March 25th, we'll have a work session and a council meeting. Mayor, I have a question on the striping. Remember when we passed that? Can you give us an update?
You talk about paints, yeah. Josh has been in touch with the company that does it. We outsource that. They've got it on their list, but with rain and the weather, it has to be a certain temperature and certainly dry to apply. But they're hoping to do it March. This is March.
Thank you. We have had a little bit.
Yeah.
The other thing is I had a couple of folks ask me about truck route signage, maybe on Broad Street. We discussed it one time. Revisiting that at another date, maybe at the next work session. Any update on Josh's wife?
They're inducing labor Wednesday. If she doesn't have it before Wednesday.
The other thing, my last part is just want to express, I guess, gratitude for everybody coming out tonight, expressing your feelings towards Highway 73 safety project. I know I've been on the council for 6 years, or a little over 6 years, and you know, when we voted, a lot of times when we vote up here, Mr. Bover, you probably understand this too, is, you know, that was probably, after the vote, we got along better than we ever had. But there was such a fallout afterwards from the community that a lot of us didn't see coming. But I can't speak for everyone on here, but other than for myself, I want to see progress. And I had a gentleman reach out to me after Monday night, and I had lunch with him, and he's fairly new to the city and working for a company that is growing, and he's had 4 employees that have moved here to town, and unfortunately they couldn't find housing here in Scottsboro. So I think that's one thing that we definitely need to be looking at. And I see Debbie Mathis back there in the back, and I actually spoke to her today about some of these issues. I know we've discussed the neighborhoods and looking at bringing some of those stipulations up to get some growth, and I think that would help a lot of our progress. But I had a meeting with the mayor Friday and Josh, and we discussed some of these issues about Highway 72 and the progress there. I think it was a good meeting, and it's not a dead issue by any standards. So I know we reached out to ALDOT to see if there were some of the concerns that some of us had, to see if, I think all in all, I like probably 90% of it, but there was a few parts that I was very vocal about, but not hindering existing businesses, to see whether or not those could be fixed. And back to your comment, Gary, about the corridor, you know, sent a I think both are gonna
Yeah.
looking at a study for.
He's requested a quote to do a study from where that other one ended at Redstone all the way to 35.
Yes.
And get a quote, see what that would
What that
cost.
would be.
Yes.
But as far as growth and impact out there on the access roads, I want to see that happen. And hopefully we'll hear something back and bring this back on the table and talk about it more. So I want to see Scottsboro grow. I love the city, I love this town, I love the people here, and I love to see y'all coming and voicing your opinions too. And I'm glad that the county came and spoke to you, Jason, appreciate that. I don't think I forgot anything, I have 10,000 notes written up here. With that, we'll adjourn, thank y'all for coming.